promised myself I wasn't going to cry, but Keisha, thank you. That was so beautiful. All right. Steal up. My dad's in the audience. Okay. On July 31st, 1988, I became an older sister for the first time when my younger brother Mark was born. My birthday falls on August 2nd, so Mark actually came home from the hospital on my 4th birthday, and after the initial disappointment that he wasn't a puppy, which is what I had asked for, I grew to love having a younger brother. Eventually, my parents added 2 more sisters to our family, so Mark did grow up in the middle of 5 children with 2 older sisters and 2 younger sisters. There we are. That was our Christmas picture about 5 years ago, and I am aware we look like an ad for Mormon Mingle. Mark was a curious and active kid who grew into an adventurous and profoundly philosophical adult. He never passed up an opportunity to visit a new country, try a sketchy hole-in-the-wall restaurant, or jump off a cliff into water that was hopefully deep enough to accommodate his 6'6" frame. But he could also sit for hours with you, discussing life, faith, and perhaps most importantly, which gas station had the best breakfast burrito. I always insisted racetrack because they didn't leave theirs out for longer than 2 days. But Mark was convinced that the Ready Egg product used in the QT ones was a higher quality than all the rest. Mark graduated from the Air Force Academy in 2011 and spent the first several years of his career working as a contractor in Warner Robins, Georgia. This desk job, however, didn't fit his adventurous personality and desire to help people, so he eventually transitioned into the Air Force Special Forces, entering the pipeline to become a combat rescue officer with pararescue. Now, I hadn't heard of combat rescue until Mark entered the field, but it was explained to me like this. They are as well trained as the Navy SEALs. They just don't go out and write books and start podcasts about their accomplishments. Yes. All shade aside, the rescue forces of the United States Air Force conduct search and rescue missions during both peacetime and combat operations. They seek out and save the lost, the wounded, the endangered, and the fallen, day or night, in any weather, and in the face of hostile forces. At a moment's notice, and under any circumstance, they put themselves in harm's way to locate, treat, and recover those in need. They are nicknamed the Guardian Angels, and their creed is, "These things we do, that others may live." To this day, I have never met a more selfless, humble, and moderately insane group of people. Mark completed his training at the end of 2017 and left for his first deployment to the Middle East in January of 2018. On the night of March 15th, just 2 months into his deployment, I received the worst phone call of my life. Mark and 6 other men had been killed in a helicopter crash while completing a night mission in Western Iraq. Excuse me. I had frozen Kleenexes, which had Olaf, so when you blow your nose into it, it looks like he's melting. I should have brought those. As many in this room know, the domino of events following that phone call or that knock on the door plays out in a whirlwind. From the haunting experience of the dignified transfer to the stream of memorials and finally his funeral 4 months later, I constantly found myself asking, how can this be our story? The September after Mark died, my family received an invitation from the National Infantry Museum to attend the Gold Star Family Dinner and Global War on Terror Memorial Rededication Ceremony. My older sister and I attended, and it was at this very dinner 2 years ago that we met in person several other families who'd also lost loved ones in the same helicopter crash that night. They're the friends you wish you never had a reason to meet, but are so grateful to have. Events like these, which give the entire family an opportunity to honor, remember, and meet people with similar stories, have played a huge part in my family's healing process. After Mark's funeral, my mom gave me a shirt that said, "Live a life worthy of their sacrifice." I affectionately call this my no pressure shirt. When Mark died, a friend of mine who had experienced traumatic loss many years before told me, she said, "It doesn't seem like it now, because the pain of your loss is still too close and too raw, but someday you will be able to choose how grief shapes you. We are 2.5 years into this journey, and only recently have I begun asking the question, what do I do with this terrible honor that has been handed to me? None of us walk away from loss unchanged, so how do I want to be changed? One of the things my brother and I had in common was a love for writing. We both found organizing our thoughts through words therapeutic, and as I was one of the 40 million people lucky enough to lose their job during COVID, I had a lot of time on my hands this past season. So I actually decided to write a mission statement for my grief to keep me focused and to give me purpose in it. So my grief manifesto, if you will, goes like this. I will fight to be kind, compassionate, and generous, striving to put other people's needs before my own. I will be slow in getting offended and quick in showing grace. I will do what's right, even if it's hard, and even if there's no glory. I will take seriously the things that are meant to be taken seriously, and I will laugh about everything else. I will challenge myself to grow both mentally and physically, even if it means doing push-ups. When I fail, which I do often, I will own my failure without excuse and move forward, trying again the next day. But when the heaviness of this burden begins to creep in, I will give myself permission to feel, to mourn, and even on occasion, to cry in front of total strangers in the pie section of the grocery store. Mark could never leave a grocery store without a pie, hence that bizarre trigger. I will continue to take calculated risks, and someday, in honor of my brother, I will go rappelling out of a helicopter, and I will never tell my mom. I will recognize that life can be incredibly hard and incredibly beautiful at the same time, and I will treasure the simple joys in every day. At Mark's Squadron Memorial, each person in my family was given a framed 8x10 of Mark's military portrait. Now, before I was a Gold Star sister, I was simply a big sister. So I did what any good big sister would do to her goofy younger brother's very serious military portrait. Mark always wanted a beard and a mustache, but was never able to grow facial hair, which isn't fair because I can grow it really well, which is unfair for both of us. So I granted him his wish, and this is how I will remember my brother. There is not a day goes by where I don't miss my brother. And I know that each one of you would move heaven and earth if it meant bringing back your loved one. We love hearing stories about heroes, but there's a quiet and often overlooked hero that I've discovered in the past 2.5 years. It is those who have experienced great loss and yet choose to wake up every morning and say, there's still good to be done in the world, and I'm going to go out and find it. Many in this room have been that hero to me, and I hope to be that hero to someone else. Before I end, I would also like to take a moment to acknowledge those who have served and those who are continuing to serve in our armed forces. On behalf of somebody who would never make it through 5 minutes of basic training, although as of 2 weeks ago, I can do 1 pull-up, so maybe I would make it through 6 minutes of basic training. Thank you. Thank you for taking on not only the physical aspects of war, but the mental and emotional, so that I may live and live free. Thank you for letting me share this evening. God bless us, and God bless America.